This is our culture comparison teen assignment, and we are comparing the United States and India by Ethan Phillips, Alison Hosinski, Molly Ayotte, and Jona Bixel. The United States culture consists of mainly Western origin, but is influenced and shaped by other cultures such as Native American, Latin American, Africans, and Asians. The other cultures influence and diversifies the US's people, music, food, and sports. One reason why the US is typically referred This is one reason why the US is typically referred as the melting pot, and the culture and tradition varies because of the varying cultures and religion, but the region also plays a part in this.
So for India, the culture in India varies in most aspects, including language, attire, religion, and food. Despite the differences, India remains unchanged over the years. India has had the same aspect of people and religion without change. This leads India to having a standstill view on what they have for cultural environment.
All right, so our first cultural dimension starts off at uncertainty avoidance. So going with India, India has been more of a communistic country, so they have had high government control, leading this to cause like more control over their entire nation. So this has led to them wanting to be able to predict and know exactly what's going on throughout their country, leading this to have more of a, let's say, high predictability. The USA has had, it used to be more predictable, but over time it is created more tolerancy for risk taking, and it's still apparent that the USA follows predictability and culture, but it has started to disappear from that, going to a more unpredictable and risk taking culture. Going along with that, in the next part of our dimension here, India has had traditional views over masculinity and femininity. This is causing, like, with job issues as well as overall temptation throughout the nation. With the U.S. in masculinity and femininity, uh, it ended up used to being like that, and then it has changed over time uh, with pushes for reform on feminine tasks being changed with masculinity tasks, as now it's not as traditional as anyone can do those tasks, no matter the masculinity or femininity of those tasks. Now, with the third dimension we have here is power within the nation and culture. So, the USA has created a hierarchy of leadership, spreading from three different main sections, creating this chain of power that anyone can go up and down through, as it's not a mandatory nor like stationary kind of hierarchy, because anyone can rise up or even go down from where they are in the power. Unlike how India has one leader, and that leader, almost all rules and other documents have to go through that. So many civilians can like push ways up, but they cannot get anything passed unless it goes through their so-called leader or dictator.
So the next culture dimension is individualism and collectivism, which is the emphasis on the importance of the individual or importance of the group. And the United States values more of an individualist culture because everybody has like their own drives and goals and doesn't really focus on like as a whole. And each person has their own belief systems instead of like everybody believing the same thing. And that's valued more than social norms. And the United States has a competitive drive, so everybody is like individual and like competing against each other. While in India, they emphasize collectivism and emphasizes a we conscious because people identify themselves as a whole group instead of individually, and they're involved in the group, and the group takes responsibility for whatever happens instead of individual responsibility.
So, in low context, the USA has like a low context culture, even though like something like family gatherings, which is like a common part of the American culture, is kind of like a high context activity. And then in India, India has like a high context culture, and it's mainly when it comes to business and economics. They like are very respectful and maintain business and good communication.
Next is indulgence and restraint, which is the relative emphasis a culture places on the gratification of desires and having fun and enjoying life, as opposed to cultures which emphasize curbing those desires. And in the US, entertainment within the culture revolves around leisure activities like athletic endeavors, theater, movies, video games, and more. Desires are also easily fulfilled because of the accessibility. While in India, restraint is viewed as a method of earning respect and establishing business. They follow more social norms, and they view indulgences as being inappropriate. So there are less assumed restrictions in the US culture as opposed to India's. Then we have long and short-term orientation, which is the degree to which a culture teaches an orientation that promotes the importance of future rewards versus cultures that emphasize the importance of immediate rewards. The United States is viewed as a short-term society because Americans generally prioritize individual things such as freedom of expression, personal freedom, self-reliance, individual rights, hard work, and personal achievement, while India is more of short-term because of the pluralistic and multi-religious culture, and they are considered a pragmatic society. Pragmatic societies generally focus on the future challenges and resilience along the way. Business can generally be started without any knowledge of the predicted future. This graph shows the difference between long-term orientation with India and the US, as well as some of the other dimensions.
So this is our works cited page, which is the end of our slideshow. And these are all of the websites that we used for our research.